So today we'll be crossing a creek to get to a river, and you can see Peter and Martin there in the morning getting ready for our journey, and my hammock that's gone limp when I had to disconnect it from the cruiser. And then over here my underwater camera gear in anticipation of seeing some cool stuff underwater today. We were always coming across so many cool, clear freshwater areas, so it was really nice to have this bit of kit along with me, even if I had to rig it a bit to make it work right. And then gotta make sure to bring an extra battery. Somehow you just shoot your battery so quick, filming underwater, just constantly rolling. And one of my batteries was always in the fritz. And if you take it out to replace it, it's a pain. Whatever, I'm happy to be moved on to a new camera by now. But this one served me really well in the time that I had it. Now, let's get going. It wasn't long before we found our first water crossing. It's that crossing that I spoke of. And it's made all the more difficult by all the kit that we carried with us. But it was still fun, and, well, I made it in one go.
Sweet, Zach, take a picture.
Well, about to cross all the gear. While Martin and Peter went back and forth a few times, I made it in one trip, but that's because my method was a bit unorthodox. Well, guess we gotta cross. I decided to just jump right in with all my gear, rather than carefully ferrying it back and forth across. Wow, swimming with boots is very ineffective. My hat's floating away.
Is your phone okay?
Yeah. It's basically waterproof in stock form. After the rollover, it's got a crack, so it's probably not completely waterproof, but I trust it for a few seconds. Let's make it across. Backpack's floating. There's Martin, he's filming too. Probably making a story. This water's gonna be great. Lots of cool stuff to get footage of in here. It's all murky as shit now, though. Whatever. Crawling out onto the other side, I was dripping everywhere, as you can clearly hear in the background. The backpack was full, and this side is dripping like normal. But just wait till we get around. The other side's coming out like a freaking water spigot. Up next was an interesting find. It's not that unusual to be out flipping and find shed skin from snakes. That's always a good sign that you're on their trail, though it's almost never led to finding the snake it came from, for me anyway. But here you can see inside here, there's actually bones. This isn't a shed. This is actually an old dead snake that's been deteriorating underneath the rock that we flipped. This one didn't lead to an actual live snake either, but I guess why would it? Here you can see its head. It's pretty cool looking, once the camera will focus anyway. There we go. Thanks, camera. You can't really see it from this angle, but snake skulls are pretty cool. They unhinge in several different ways to allow them to really open up and wrap around large prey items since they swallow their food whole, and the bottom is detached one side from the other, so they can kind of walk their jaw down the prey item, grabbing with one side and then lifting, and bringing the next side forward and hooking in, and leveraging one over the other, kind of similar to how you'd move a big bookshelf or something when you're trying to move house. It's pretty cool. Walking down to the gorge. It's supposed to be about half an hour there. It took a bit longer because of the water crossing though. Hopefully we'll get there and get some cool footage soon though. Along the way we had stopped to admire some Aboriginal rock art. This was a somewhat common theme along different parts of our trip, and they generally had them marked out with little plaques and such. It's pretty remarkable thinking of these pigments lasting so long and still being around. There's probably tons that we can't see just because of the ravages of time. We're lucky to have this little bit left, even if this is a poor example. This doesn't look too interesting to me, but, you know, I'm sure there's something cool behind it if you look at the reasons why they did it. There'll be a shot of the plaque coming up soon if you care to read about it. And here are just some more shots of our walking path and journey through this habitat. Here you can see where they kind of have this little path marked off with railing and chains by where the rock art is present. Then over here we have these interesting trees or bushes, shrubs, whatever they are, with their roots going across these rocks in the arid landscape. I thought it was rather cool looking. Then here you can see carvings into the rock. I think the sign said they were supposed to be eyes. Who knows though? They could probably as easily be boobs. Who am I kidding? Somebody probably knows. Gotta be a whole field of research. And here we are, finally arriving on some water. This is what the journey was about. What's underneath? That's what I'm here to show you. One of the first things you'll notice upon hopping in is the general clarity and beauty, which is actually substantially better than is implied in any of this footage. It came through a bit more hazy than it actually was. This water was pretty remarkably clear with a brilliant abundance of life. And in here, in some of the close-ups, I think you can kind of take that home and appreciate it and see the way the light wrinkles and ripples across some of the plants and algae, like in the previous shot. Then as you get deeper, you really start to lose some of that visual fidelity. You get less light coming in and much more cloudiness from what was around. But just remember that in person, this was 2 or 3 times as clear. Upon getting in the water, one of the first things that you will notice is in great abundance are archerfish. This is something that I've repeatedly found in many waterways across Australia, and a fish that's always exciting to see in person. They have this cool behavior where they'll sit at the surface of the water and they will eyeball prey on the surface up on branches and things like ants and bugs, and they will shoot a jet of water at the thing they want to eat, and they will knock the insect or bug off the branch into the water where they can actually grab it. So they work like little archers, where they get their name, with a jet of water that they shoot the prey with, and it's really cool. I've yet to actually see it in person and get footage of it. I would like to, and I'm looking forward to when I do. But I've seen it on the Discovery Channel ever since I was a little kid, so there's always a part of me that's pretty excited to see these guys, even though that's laxed a bit because I see them in every waterhole now, but they are just a really cool fish. And coming up here, you can see where I managed to get a bit better footage of this guy, where you can really see his size, shape, and coloring. This river was also quite abundant with turtle life. Here you can see an Australian snapping turtle chilling out on the bottom. I always find it kind of funny referring to these guys as snapping turtles, because I come from the US, where our snapping turtles are, well, considerably beefier, and that's just the common snapping turtle. The alligator snapping turtle simply dwarfs everything else. But these Australian snapping turtles do have a little more jaw power to them than at least the other turtles around them, or at least do a good job of conveying that look anyhow. Whenever I'm in the water, I always find myself drawn to these fish right here. They like to hang out right along like fallen logs and things with algae growing on them, and they'll just kind of sit there up close, letting their camouflage do the work for them and kind of bobbing around. They've got some nice angular body lines and contrasty patterns, all while still doing a good job of camouflaging. They're just kind of neat little loners that hang out along things, pretty different from the other fish you typically see in the area. Maybe I've just got a thing for ambush predators. For us, snorkeling in these rivers and clear water bodies always involved a good deal of turtle chasing and turtle catching. Here's the aftermath of such turtle catching. Guy here is a sawshell turtle. They were pretty common to see in most of the bodies of water on our trip, and are rather different, along with the rest of the Australian turtles, from the American turtle varieties. These guys can't completely go all the way into the shell. They are the side-necked turtles, and some turtles take this to more of an extreme, having really long necks for reaching things. These guys are more of a happy medium. When turtles want to, they can exhibit great bursts of speed underwater. Well, it looks like his time with us is over. I think we enjoyed it more than he did. Well, there was certainly more that we saw and more that we did this day, but I've taken you through the majority of the highlights and okay footage that I got, so here you can just see some tetras and other small fish just hanging around by the edge. As you can see here, it's beautiful in the water and beautiful out of the water, with palm trees and tropical environments everywhere you look. Sometimes it's hard to decide where your attention is best left. And with that, it was about time that we get out of the water and start on our way back. It's about a half-hour walk ahead of us, with another water crossing to get back. But it's going to be a good night back at camp tonight. The best ones are always when you can reflect on a successful day with good exploring. Today's episode was back to a bit of fumbling around with old phone work, but that's what most of my footage from this trip was from. So that'll continue to the end of this series, and then I may start a new series, a little more, candid phone shot stuff. In the moment, it'll be fun. At any rate, I'll see you next time, and as always, thanks for watching.